Hello, hello. Happy Friday, everyone. Welcome into another edition of Titan Talk. Hope everyone is having a great end to the week. I'm Isiah, Kilgoon with me as usual, and we've got Matt from the level design team because today we're going to be talking about some exciting Assault news.
Yeah, I'm excited to go through this today, but I'm more excited that everybody gets to see Matt because he hasn't been on a high-res show in a long, long
I
time.
know, yeah. I think the last show you were on was the Nike Smite 1 update show.
Yeah,
A long time ago.
the adventure stuff.
So,
Yeah.
welcome to Titan Talk. Matt, for the folks who don't know you, just kind of give us a quick rundown of what you do here on the Titan Forge team and what you work on.
So I work at the level design team. We mainly work on Conquest, Assault, Joust, and Arena. And we're just in charge of making sure that the maps are playable, that we put cool content in it, and that we, address feedback that the community gives us.
Yeah, sweet. Well, we're super excited to talk about Assault
Yeah.
because we, of course, introduced Assault in the free-to-play update, and we always said that it was kind of the first iteration of Assault, right? It was like the Assault
Alpha.
I think is what we
Pre-alpha.
called it, even
Yeah.
in the free-to-play trailer. But we're excited to talk about some changes coming to the Assault map that we're cooking up and that we're looking forward to getting your feedback on. So I guess before we hop in game, just Kilgan, give us a rundown of what we're kind of doing here.
Yeah, so I think the first place to start is the current Assault map has always been meant as a temp thing. We felt like we really needed to get a version of Assault in for when we went free to play. And there wasn't enough time to get a full proper Assault map in, right? And so recently we've been kind of going back to the drawing board and thinking about how can we address some of the more gameplay issues with the map, less visual issues. I think that's kind of still a future-esque problem. And thinking about like how can we make the map, wider? I think that's been the biggest concern. How can we maybe add other interesting things that we think we could do with the map? So we've been working. Matt's been working in the background. I don't want to take credit for it. Matt's working in the background, and we're going to be running a live test all weekend long on a blocked out version of an updated, wider Assault map. So if you queue Assault, the Assault queue is going to be replaced with Assault/Dev Test, I think is what it's going to be called. And you're going to be playing on a new work in progress version of the map because we want to get your feedback of, does this feel better? Do we think we're moving in the right direction? Are there things that we still need to address? And we're going to be turning that on, I believe, at the close of today's show.
That's the plan.
In about an hour, you'll be able to play on this map in live and give us feedback. It is early. It's rough. There's blockout. There's like gray walls in places, right? Because we just want to get the feels from you guys, and then we'll keep working to do the art pass and make sure it actually like looks good. That's my quick version. Matt, did I miss anything major on that?
No, I wanted to say a couple things. Yes, it's going to be in blockout form, so you're going to see walls with our basic grid texture. It's just a way for us to measure like how big everything is and relative to the characters. So it's going to feel like a dev map, which is kind of cool in its own right. And two, I want to shout out Zaneski, which is our other level designer. He's the one who actually made the Assault map. I just kind of gave him some words. That was it. But he's working on the arted version right now, and he's also going to be taking all your feedback. So remember, post on Reddit or on the Discord so we can read all your feedback.
Yep. We'll also have a short survey that'll go out on social media alongside this Assault dev test going live that you can fill out after you play a couple games on this new kind of dev version of the Assault map. Give us your feels. But without further ado,
Let's jump in.
let's bring
take a
up
look
the
at it.
handy dandy laptop. And immediately, you all will notice some changes on the mini map. And I'm just going to walk around. And Matt, as I'm walking around, just kind of give us an idea of what we're seeing here.
Yeah, so you'll notice right from the mini-map that we've widened the lanes, but we've also added all this side stuff to it. So right out of the bases, you're going to notice that there's these side pads that lead to the doors. The doors are from Conquest, but we thought it'd be really cool to have this interaction where players like to throw stuff over the wall and catch people who are hiding behind the wall. Also, you can blow up the doors with the runic bomb.
With the runic bomb.
So that's now in play in Assault. We've had a lot of fun in that little area. It's been pretty chaotic, but enjoyable. Here we have a left path. And if you played Smite 1 Assault, you might recognize something familiar to this. But yeah, there's a path to the left behind the Tier 1 tower now that leads to this jungle area and we're making use of the stealth grass to really spice up
Oh,
this
yeah.
zone. It's been fun to see people walk up into the grass next to the lane and just wait for a group of people to walk past unknowingly past the grass and just get ambushed by
Oh,
a bunch
yeah.
of people.
A lot more stealth grass than the current iteration of the Assault map in Live 2.
Yeah. And I like that he wrapped it around this wall here because it added a lot of this like mystery about where the player could be in this big patch. That's been fun too. You'll also notice that there's 2 buff spawn points now instead of 1. And so just like in Assault right now, this will randomize through all the different buffs in the game, plus the pickups. So now you can have 2 of everything. And you can run into cases where there will be 2 daggers, 2 runic bombs. It's gonna be crazy.
2 daggers in the same, like, it's really interesting. Like, we've run a few playtests on this. It's still early, right? But, like, some crazy things happen where it's like, okay, well, there are 2 people now who have 2 lives. Like, what are you going to do to stop that? So...
Yeah, overall, it's it's wackiness, it's chaotic, it's fun, but also the wider lane does support that team fight feel that you want from Smite 1's Assault, and going into Smite 2, we have a lot of gods who can do crazy things with the active items, so this just supports all that now.
Yeah, and I will just like specifically call out like that how much wider is the map than the old lane, right? It's probably twice as wide. Like
it's close. The old lane was, I'm just gonna throw numbers out there, it was about like 9.5 meters.
Okay.
And this is leaning into like, I think he said 13 to 14.
Okay, nice.
It's pretty wide.
I mean, even
like
just standing here at the tower, it feels so much wider than...
Yeah, and like if Vulcan ult can't cover it, Cuckoo ults will be much harder to land in this wide corridor. So yeah, I think overall internally we've been having a lot of fun with it, and now it's time to give it to the players and see what they think.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think one of the big changes for this is that like with the old, the temp map we were using previously, it's good in Conquest for big circle ultimates to cover most of the lane. In Assault, where it's a 5v5 team fight, constrained to mostly a single lane, having ultimates that cover the entire lane made it very difficult to play around certain team fights. So now, a Zeus ultimate isn't going to cover the entire width of the lane anymore, right?
Yeah.
It's going to cover part of the lane, and there'll be a way to escape.
You've got a lot more room to kind of juke around those Hecate aspect bolts that have been that we've gotten a lot of feedback that are really strong in Assault.
Really good in Assault. She has way too good of a win rate in Assault. We need to do something about it. But team's on it. We're aware.
I do want to also point out 2 things. One, yes, we saw the path that goes to the side behind the tier 1 tower. Now, this path specifically is very good for assassins because they love getting to that flank position.
Oh, yeah.
And so you're going to see a lot of people running down this thin hallway. Now, it's kind of a double-edged sword because it is a thin hallway. So, mages will cover this, so you just got to be careful. But, yeah, we've seen players like Pawn, who loves assassins, find himself living in that hallway. The second thing I want to note is that, again, Pawn is our resident assassin player in Clumsy 2, but they use the grass as a way to close the distance for those characters because they typically struggle with getting close to their targets in Arena and in Assault. So this is their way of adding their own gameplay style to the map. Yeah.
And then I think another thing that's kind of interesting is that there's a way to loop around the tier 1. There's a way to kind of loop around the Phoenix, but the tier 2 is kind of like a big choke point.
Yeah.
It's like that feels like that's going to be the hardest to push, maybe.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that each row, or not each row, each level has its own twist on it. It's not just I'm doing the same thing 3 times.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested to see with all these new kind of pathways and openings, just how team fights kind of change in Assault with this new kind of map layout.
Cool. Yeah, I'm interested to see what players think about seeing the dev map. I don't think we've ever done that in Smite 1, right?
No. Paladins used to have a test map queue that once you were level, 20 or something, you could queue to play on a bunch of, gray box test maps.
Yeah.
Because we were trying to figure out the best way to do certain level design things for that game. but I don't think we've ever done anything like this in Smite before. So it's a first. You know, we're continuing. I think we said a lot of times recently, like, hey, we're more open to testing things in live. We want to get your feedback on things before they're locked in and done, so that we can keep iterating. You know, you've seen us do a lot of tests with the Blink recently.
Yep.
And I think this is just another example of us being willing to try things in live. So the plan is that this goes live in about 50 minutes on the live servers, and it will be up all weekend. So until Monday morning, I think is the current plan. If there is some major issue with it, we might take it down early if we have to. But the goal is to let people play with it for as long as they can and get feedback on how it's feeling. You know, there will be some people who are like, I don't understand this gray box thing. You know, why does it look like this? But hopefully people feel excited about this, and we get some more good feedback that leads to continued great iteration.
Yeah, for sure. And a couple of things that I wanted to note, all of the lobby pre-match stuff is still going to be the same for Assault. You'll still have rerolls. You'll still have the bench available to you. The only thing that's changing is once you actually get into the game, you're going to be playing on this new dev test version of the Assault map with kind of the new blockout geometry and stuff like that. So definitely looking forward to people hopping in this weekend and playing some Assault games and giving us their feedback.
Yeah, and then I know we aren't specifically talking about, you know, the other maps today, but obviously you and your team are doing a lot of work in the background on the other maps. Not necessarily looking for any teasers right now, but like, are there any like maybe overarching thoughts about Conquest right now that, you know, would be interesting to share? Or
so maybe I can share like some overarching things that we're looking at right now.
If you want to spoil some things, that's kind of what this show is about. But like, you're
subject to change, chat.
Yeah,
you know?
you're allowed to talk about whatever you want to talk about. There's no restrictions. But like, I just didn't know what you
Okay.
feel comfortable talking about, because I know it's a lot of the stuff that we're testing right now in Conquest is still kind of testy, and I'm not sure if it's like going to ship. So, but yeah, whatever you feel like talking about, you're good to do.
Sure. Okay. So yeah, we actually in the Ambassador Discord we did ping about Arena, because we're looking at ways maybe potentially we can improve Arena, whether that be just numbers things or gameplay, like something new. We're looking into that. Nothing solid yet. I think Arena is like one of our more solid game modes that's hard to change.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure we're careful about what we change in there. Conquest is a little more flexible, and I think we currently are experimenting with having the map slightly change based on some events. We've always liked the idea of the map changing over time, but now we're trying to make some headway in that direction to see if we can try something new. In addition to looking at some of our current objectives that just haven't had the time for us to go and revisit and rework and make it better. Like I'll throw some out there, like the gold pickup in mid lane. We do want to rework that to make it better. That was just kind of a stand-in at the time when we were trying to put the game out. The Rogue Cyclops, we do want to rework that because, again, same thing, stand-in. So we're looking at that kind of stuff. And then Joust, Joust is probably okay right now. I think Joust is fine. So, and Assault. So we had, Zaneski had some time to look at Assault, so he did this and put it together.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I'm excited to see what people think about it when they go play it.
Yeah.
Chat. I will say this one level design request that comes in from chat all the time, and you can tell us what you think about it. Sure. Bring back support buff for Conquest. Is that something that we've talked about? Like, how do we feel about that idea?
So the yes, we could bring it back. Really, the main hurdle is getting the NPC in the game, because our character team is focused on making gods and skins. And so throwing a little NPC in there just throws a wrench in the plans, in the pipeline. So we are going to try, but no promises. And maybe we can, craft something up on the LD side, just kind of whip it together. Maybe we can get something in there. We have a good spot for it in the map currently. So
nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sweet. Before we get into Q&A, I will also mention that alongside this Assault dev test, Merlin aspect is going live later on today. Is the plan. So people who are, wanting to get that Gamba in, get a little bit of pandemonium on the battleground, you can expect that to go live at the same time as this Assault dev test.
Yep, about 2:00. You'll be able to start playing with the Merlin aspect, and then the Umoja aspect will turn on Monday morning.
Yep.
So if you want to play some Umoja mid, set your alarm for 8 a.m. Monday morning or whenever we're going to turn on. So So it should be fun. And then on Monday, we'll be doing our Titan Talk show. Will be kind of patch notes for OB7. So we'll go over Cerberus. We'll go over changes that are happening. Probably not balanced, but probably everything that isn't balanced that's going to be in OB7 we'll talk about on Monday.
Yeah, we've got a new Wandering Market collection in OB7 that we'll go through on Monday. So, yeah, lots of cool stuff. I was just talking with Tony and Blake in our little office there, and Blake was like, man, we got a lot of stuff in OB7. So I'm super excited for the Monday show.
Yeah,
and,
we were going through, we have every company is different, but for some reason we've landed on, it makes sense for us to do a planning meeting on Thursday afternoon. So we have, a big Thursday afternoon planning meeting for Smite 2 every week, and we were going through just reviewing the stuff that's coming out in this next update, and we were like, man, this is the first patch for Smite 2 where I'm like, we just have so much stuff in it. I'm wondering if we should even ship it all on patch day, or if we should hold some of it back, and again, it's, I'm not trying to overhype the patch, right? It's, it's there's a god, there's some skins, there's, there's a lot of good stuff in the patch, but it feels like we just have a lot in this one from the dev perspective because of all the things that we're doing. So
sweet. Well, I think that was everything on our hit list to cover at the top of the show. We got about 45 minutes left, so let's hang out, answer some questions from chat. Chat, if you have any level design focused questions, we got Matt here, one of the goats from the LD team, and I'm sure he can provide some really great insight into anything that's going on in Smite 2.
When did you've been on Smite for a long, long time? I know you left briefly, but then you came back. But you've been on Smite for.
I got hired in season 2.
Season 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was the first thing you worked on then? Was the season 3 Conquest map or?
It was Joust.
Joust. Okay.
Yeah.
Joust
so it would have been Chinese Joust.
Chinese Joust.
Nice.
Yeah. That was the design was already made, so I came in and just did the supporting work. But the Bull Demon King ad and all that stuff was something that I took part in. And then after that was Conquest season 3.
Yep.
And so on and so forth. I think Clash at one point was one of the things that we worked on.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. We do get this question a lot. I've answered versions of it, but from the LD side, what are your thoughts about the maps that aren't currently in Smite 2, Slash, Siege, Domination, things that were in Smite 1? Do you think that they have a role in Smite 2, or things that you want to work on? Because we've talked a lot. Obviously they aren't a priority right now. We think the current priority is got to make the maps that we have good. But just from an LD perspective, what do you think is interesting about those maps, and is it something that you want to revisit?
Man, this could be a long conversation.
That's fine. That's what this show's about. Right? We just kind of talk. It's
so I guess we could start with Clash, which is Slash now in Smite 1. So the original plan for that map was to make that be the bridge for arena players to go from arena to Conquest, to teach them the laning phase, team fighting, how to transition from mid to late game, all that stuff. That was the plan, but I think in the end it actually turned into a more casual light Conquest that players just decided that this is the mode I want to play for a very long time. And I think that there is a spot for that in Smite 2. Making a map costs a lot of time and money, so we have to be strategic about which maps we put in the game. Maybe like with Assault, further down the line when we have more time, more flexibility, we can have Sineski put together a Clash. Yeah. Who knows, right? But in the short term, it's probably not going to happen, unfortunately, until we get more bandwidth.
Cool. Makes total sense.
But I agree, it should exist in the game.
Latecomers want a quick recap. We're going to be testing a gray box version of a wider Assault map. So a very dev version. It's got some cool side jungle, lots of neat new features. In live, starting in 40 minutes at 2 o'clock p.m. And it'll be live all weekend unless we run into major issues. So we want your feedback on how the updated Assault map feels.
Yep. Here's a good question. If the Assault test gets good feedback, are we open to keeping the dev test map live until there's a dedicated Assault map?
I wouldn't.
Yeah. If the feedback is overwhelmingly this is better, I don't think we would take it down just to take it down. I think we'll just kind of look at the numbers and the feedback, right? But we just didn't want to commit to this is up forever because we may well get feedback that guys, I can't stand this gray box art, I know, right? Especially the people who watch this show are some of the most hardcore Smite players who are maybe the most willing to look past dev art. whereas kind of the silent majority who just wants to slam Qs on Xbox is not gonna maybe be as forgiving of the dev art. So we just need to look at the numbers and how people react and what they think about it.
Someone did ask if the Assault map is still planned to be Japanese themed. I don't think we have the bandwidth to make a new art set, so it's most likely going to stay Greek themed. It's going to reuse the Conquest assets, but we would like to theme it eventually. We will try to when we can.
So the final version of this layout will be Greek assets, but at some point in the future, we would love to revisit and give it its own unique theme.
For sure.
I don't know if you know this. This might be more of a Chuck thing, but the people are asking about the speed camping Conquest getting an art update, because I know that the other camps got an art update in the last patch. Are there plans for that?
Well, the speed camp has art. I think early on we had plans to hit each camp one by one, but then stuff got in the way and we only got speed camp out. And so we're just kind of catching back up on the backlog to hit the other camps. If the speed camp needs more love, then again we'll put it on the backlog. We'll take a look at it.
Question from Bronx Mixed. For Assault, a lot of people still don't use rerolls. Have we thought about ever just taking away rerolls and adding 5 random gods to the bench?
It's a great question.
Yeah. So we have talked. That was something that came up at one point in time. We'd also talked about, I mentioned this before, but like, if you're working on a video game, it is your responsibility to play the other competitor video games and understand how they approach the same problems, right? And the way HOTS approaches this problem is that they give each person 3 gods that they can pick from.
Okay.
And it's not a shared bench. It's just like, when you load into the thing, here are the 3 that
Here are
you
your
can pick
options.
from. Yeah. So we talked about a lot of different ways that you could change the way the flow of Assault works. I think that what we liked about actually having to reroll is that there's something psychologically about, like, this is my god, and I have to make the decision that I don't want this god. And that if I click on this, then somebody else could take that god away from me, and it could be, it could be anything. It could even be a boat. It could be something that is a better god for me, or I could get stuck into a situation where I don't play somebody as fun, right? And I think that that's kind of part of the joy of Assault, right? Like, I think that the bench helps smooth out some of the really bad situations where it's like, I can't play Kali, re-roll, now I have Susanoo and I can't play Susanoo. Right. We're probably going to lose, right? Yeah. But we wanted to retain a little bit of that, like, I got Ra, I really like Ra, but oh man, it'd be cool if I got Scylla. Like I think that that's fun, and you lose that when you pre-roll all the possible gods.
Right.
Let's see. Have we thought about ever adding more water to the map, like little lakes or ponds or a river?
Oh man, the river discussion.
We've talked about this for years and years and years, probably since you started, right?
Yeah. The river is in other MOBAs. They use that as a landmark for the 50-yard line or the midway of the map. So for us, because the ground you walk on is flat, it is much harder for us to add depth to the ground, and rivers just look weird when it's like a flat piece of water.
We had like rivers of souls in one
that
map.
was our compromise. Was to like create a depth looking area. But even then, I think what players really would want is a whole river going across the whole map. We'll have to come up with something creative if we ever did decide to do that in the future. And it wouldn't be a river; it would be something like that. Yeah.
This is an interesting. Will we update the minimap to show broken doors to fire giant or bases?
We could. I think right now they're baked in.
Oh, okay.
But yes, we could try and show that. We could probably add something to show that it's on fire or blowing up or something. Yeah.
Let's see here. We get this a lot on Titan Talk, but Matt, curious to hear your perspective. What are your thoughts on Pantheon versus Pantheon maps in terms of art set?
Ooh. I think they're cool. I think it makes it very clear which side you're on, because when you see 2 opposing art sets, it's easy to see I'm on this side or this side. When it's just one art set, but it's supposed to be like kind of bad versus good, the environment could kind of look the same on both sides, right? It's just the color difference. So I think those are cool, but those take a lot more work to pull off. So, but I like those. I liked all our previous Smite 1 maps for that reason.
This is a good one. So are devs like Matt involved with making the art for the map, or is that handed over to the art team? So maybe just talk a little bit more about what like an LD actually does, right?
Okay. So what we're in charge of is mostly the gameplay of the map, and you're probably wondering what that means. It means we're not concerned with where the trees are, where the rocks are. We're concerned more about how big the pads are, where the pads lead you, where all the objectives lie in the map, how far or how long it takes to get from point A to point B. We're kind of a mix of numbers people with spatial gameplay people. And so when we're making these maps, they look like what you see or you're gonna see in Assault right now, but with no art. So everything is gridded.
It's just all
gray.
Yeah.
But we use flat colors to kind of just to say, oh, this is a rock, this is a tree. But it's all very simple because we want to make sure that when you're running through a space, it feels good to run through, that you're not confused about where you're going, and that you feel like you got there at a reasonable amount of time. Those are all important things that are much harder to change when you start adding art in.
Yeah. I know one of in terms of pathing, like one of the things that Travis always obsesses about is not having to turn too much while you're going down a path if you're going in a certain direction. So not backtracking to get to the direction if you're following what should be a straight path.
Yep.
But then you're also trying to figure out how do I do the appropriate level of vision blocking and fitting in camps and all of that stuff. And then also you guys, your team handles the numbers for the camps in terms of how much XP, how much gold, when do minions spawn, how fast do they move, how do they meet in the lane, all that stuff is all you guys. So I'm always impressed with it because it's far beyond anything I could do. So.
Yeah. So art is something that we are involved in, and I'll try and wrap this up. But we're mostly concerned with how the art affects the gameplay. We make sure that the rocks don't come out too far, so that your character is clipping through rocks, or they're blocking enough vision so that you don't look over camps and stuff.
This is a funny one, but did you get to put any Easter eggs in any maps that you worked on?
So yeah, I did. In the old Egyptian Clash map, we had the little puzzle you could do where you hit the statues.
Oh yeah,
and then
I totally forgot about that. Yeah.
So Christian Davis, he's at a different place now, but him and I were talking about Easter eggs, and he came up with the idea, and I was like, let's do it. So we started putting it all together. Yeah. And it's funny because we got a bunch of bugs from that Fenrir was getting stacks from it because he was hitting it, and it was counting towards items that were based on kills and stuff. So that was fun. Yeah.
That's cool. What are your thoughts on Invader's Curse?
Ooh. Oh man,
it's a loaded question, man.
Well, it's not in the game for a reason. So in Smite 1, we added it because invading was a strategy that was, dominant, and you could argue that it also sucks to get invaded and kind of determines the rest of the game for you. But in Smite 2, we tried to open that up so that there's more possibilities of gameplay in the map. And we on the level design team don't like restricting players from behaving a certain way. If possible, we will add restrictions where we need. But we like the freedom of players deciding, I want to be an invader this game. And it's a high risk, high reward strategy, but it can pay off and potentially win you the game if you do it well. So we want to stick with that logic. And if it becomes really bad, then yes, we'll address it. But it seems okay right now.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I think this is maybe a funny one because I kind of know a little bit of background of it. Are you guys happy with the current iteration of the teleporters on the Conquest map? Can you explain why you didn't do it like the Smite 1 teleporter? And because they kind of independently evolved at the same time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want me to talk?
Yeah,
about
go for
it.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's see. When we were creating the Smite 2 Conquest map during the alpha period, we wanted a way for both lanes to interact with each other, the outer lanes to interact with each other, without an item like teleport or a relic like teleport. And so, and we also wanted the assassin to also have some freedom to move around the map, because if you find yourself on the left side, then going to the right side takes a long time. So we thought that, that let's give a little bit of mystery to the map. Let's introduce some unknowns. And that was the first pass at it, was letting players move from left to right instantly. I think we still need to look at it and iterate on it when we have time. But at a philosophy level, we do like the fact that there is an unknown to the map, and you're just not sure what's going on sometimes. And that can add a little bit of the excitement too, a little bit of spice to the map, because it can get formulaic at times.
There was a question here about how difficult is it to create events like Corrupted Arena or other maps where pieces of the map kind of fell off?
That was hard.
Okay.
That was hard because in Smite 1, we had a lot of assumptions that you were doing things on the ground. And so characters like Thor, who would ult and then pick a spot to land, well, he doesn't try to find the bottom. So if the platform's falling, he doesn't try to follow it down. He chooses 0, which is like the flat ground that you're standing on. So he can land in the middle of the pit and then fall. And that was all over the place. In Smite 1. Like every character had some weird exception that we had to just go through and fix. So difficult. In Smite 2, I think it's not that bad now. So we might be more free to do stuff like that. I think early on we had a prototype. I don't want to speak too much. I don't want to excite people about that stuff, but we tried stuff like that, and it worked out pretty well. In fact, Ymir's wall was attached to it, so you'd see his wall moving down with the platform as it was going down. That's cool. Yeah, it's cool.
Let's see here. Are there any plans to add interactive/moving map art? For example, having the Joust Dragon fly around or breathe fire.
You mean like you can make the dragon do stuff? Is it? Or they mean the dragon just flies on its own and just does things? Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, we would love to do that stuff. Again, it's a matter of resources, but having the environment be part of the gameplay has always been fun to think about. Yeah. So yes, we would love to do more of that if possible.
Any thoughts of pushing win camp spawn back so that players start in lane more often? I had a lot of fun with starting in lane back in season 7.
Starting in lane. I'm not against it. The reason why we have it the way it is right now is because we need the jungler to be able to do their path and make it to the lane by the second wave, because that will determine how the mid gameplay shapes out. A lot of times you see junglers do, I think it's blue to red if you're doing like the new stuff, or yellow if you're just kind of starting out. But by the time you kill 2 camps, you'll find yourself in mid at about the same XP and gold range as the mid laner who has just cleared wave 1. And then from there, they make the decision of, do we go oracles or mid camp? And then if the assassin goes left or right, solo, duo, they have the same decisions to make there too. If we pull that timer back more, then that timing is off. And then we have to then play that out and see how it works. But I'm not against it, and we can try it out internally and see if we like it.
Have you ever thought about the idea of players needing to come together and summon a jungle boss? Would make for more team synergy and less soloing.
Dude, that's a cool idea.
Yeah, it is cool.
There's gonna have to be requirements. Like it'd be cool if you had to gather a specific amount of things, kind of like a ritual to get it to all happen. But that's cool, and it also it's like this event you're building up to, and that's new to Smite versus like what we have right now, which is a boss spawns, you kill it. There was no prerequisites to it; it just kind of happens. So that's a cool idea.
We talked about this a little bit in the past, but not on the show, just internally, I know. But what are your thoughts on progressing maps through day and night? Would that be hard to do? Obviously, some games do it because there are gods that interact with the time of day or characters. But what are your thoughts on day-night cycle? Does it have a role in Smite? Is it something you're interested in?
Oh man, we've talked a lot about day night internally. I think even early on, we really wanted to do it, but the main restriction was that we need to make sure performance was kept in mind above all. And with the way we handle lighting in the game right now, it would be not possible to do day night. So it would, then you think about it in a different way. Can you do, instead of day night, it's daytime and then like cosmic time. And maybe we can do we could post process the effect instead of changing the lighting and making it feel like night. That's a better way of looking at it. And then from there, it kind of frees us to then apply themes to all these things. Because I think day night is kind of limiting, honestly, in terms of theme. Nighttime is going to be, obviously, you see less.
Yeah.
But there's nothing else interesting you could do there. Whereas like cosmic time is like you can change the map gameplay-wise in different ways. So we talked about it a lot. We couldn't do it because of constraints.
Yeah. And
But
that's because like some of our lights are like baked into the environment already, right? So it's like they are, some things are dynamically lit and some things are statically, the lighting happened when we created the map kind of thing. So if you change the time of day, that part of the map would look bright even though it's nighttime.
It would be weird. Yeah. For sure. Yeah. But yeah, we want to do that stuff. I think it'd be cool. We did kind of tease it a little bit that we're experimenting with it.
Yeah.
So.
I've heard this pitch a couple times. What if the skybox got corrupted when the fire giant was killed, and then cleanses when the buff wears off? It's kind of like we're in power play mode right now.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. That falls into the art department, and so maybe we could approach him about it. But that's cool. Yeah, I think that's a cool idea.
That's kind of an interesting idea. Is there any way mid-assault match to allow a player to buy an item via an objective or relic? So, like, is it worth having something to fight over where it's like you get a shot volume, for the winning team if you win this objective?
Like
right?
Old Chester.
Yeah, like Chester. Right? That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. And this is the kind of stuff that we would love to hear from the players. It's like, hey, what if this is cool? Yeah. I think that's a cool idea. Why not? I think really it depends on how we want players to interact with the item shop in those moments, because if you put it in the middle lane, it's very chaotic. How are you going to open up your item shop and buy in the middle of a team fight?
Yeah.
But we can experiment with that. I like that.
Cool. I had one, but I lost it. I see one person who's like, I'm less happy with Joust than you seem to be. But I would say most of the feedback that we've gotten around Joust has been pretty positive. I don't think we've gotten much concern, but if there are specific concerns around Joust, like, let us know. Like, we always like to hear what the community's thinking.
Yeah. Here's a good one. How much do God kits impact map design? For example, Mercury benefits from long lines of sight.
Yes, we always keep those gods in mind when we make the maps. So I was just I was just looking at some of the god ranges because I was curious, and we always keep these in the back of our minds when we're making these maps. But characters like Vulcan is our standard for how wide some of the areas should be.
Yeah.
Because we don't want him to just completely encapsulate some areas. Characters like Thor, we keep in mind because he has the longest travel distance
that's cool.
from a sky character. And so when he's up there, we have to make sure he doesn't see a bunch of stuff while he's up there. So we have to obscure him sometimes. Yeah. All that stuff is, and as we add more gods, it becomes much more complicated to support all these things. But we try to keep all that in mind when we make these new maps. It's funny because if you hop into our dev maps in progress, you'll see a bunch of Ymirs shoulder to shoulder to each other, because that's our unit of measurement is like one Ymir.
Oh, that's cool. It was like Khepri's in Smite 1.
Yeah, it was Khepri's because Khepri was the widest god.
Yeah.
And Ymir just became the unit because he was the first god who was imported in the
that
Smite
makes
2. Yeah.
Ymir measurement is funny.
Yeah. How many Ymirs from order to chaos? Let's measure it out.
This is a good topic of conversation. So, can you make it so you can drag Yellow Buff and XP Camp next to each other? So there are people who like Smite 1 being able to drag the jungle all around, right? I think that we've seen that can lead to less of a role for the jungler, right?
And then now it's my thoughts.
Sorry.
My thoughts are if we do it when it makes sense. So the side harpies were an example of that. It just because they're like quick things that you want to do, it just felt like we should give you the opportunity to do both at the same time. Yellow buff and the harpy camp are next to each other, and so it almost feels like they should be the same way. So yes, we haven't done that yet, but we could try that out. I personally don't know if it's right for the pacing of the game. I think it might turn into clearing becomes much faster, especially as you progress through the game. You're getting a burst of XP and gold with one ability versus having to split it now between two. So we'll have to be careful there with the balance of God clear and stuff. But yeah, we could try it internally and see how it feels.
I had one and I lost it.
Let's see.
Yeah, there's a question about I enjoyed Chester and the speed buff camp that was roaming from Smite 1. Would we consider doing something like that in Smite 2? I know we have the roaming harpies now, but maybe, adding something extra to those or something else,
Yeah. We are hitting like not the soft cap of how many things can walk through the jungle before it gets too busy. So we're going to have to make sure that we just don't kitchen sink the map too hard.
Yeah.
Just throw too many things in. But Chester brought something unique to the game that maybe we can reintroduce in a different way.
Yeah. I like that idea.
Let's see here. In Smite 1, when you adjust the opacity on the minimap editor, the god, jungle, and boss icons would stay bold, making them easier to read, and the map not as intrusive. Can we make it work this way in Smite 2?
Yeah, that is on our to-do list. We have a whole list of things about HUD editor that just aren't done yet, right? We got the first version out, and I think that was 80% or 90% of what we really needed, and then the remaining 10 or 20% is a lot more work to get back to. So the thought was we would get the like MVP version of HUD editor out there for people, and then we would focus on other things that we thought were more important to get done with the UI team. So I know like the God Builder system is a big one, and that's something that we continue to work on.
Okay. Sorry, do you have one?
Yeah.
Go ahead, go for it.
Someone was talking about the vines in Smite 1 Conquest.
Ooh, yeah. Let's talk about it.
Yeah. So I think we've talked about this before on this show, but the vine walls were an experiment of having dynamic paths be changed and stuff. I think the feedback we got was mixed.
Yeah.
Some players felt it was annoying to have to constantly open up the wall to pass through, and others, kind of liked it because it was a path that got cut off by someone who's trying to run away, and now they have to spend time opening up the wall to escape. We did experiment with this internally. We had a couple tests with a version of this, but it had the same feedback.
Yeah.
It just was a mixed bag of yes and no. But I think there is room to push the idea further. We just haven't had time to keep looking at it.
Yep. It feels like a lot of Conquest games are ending around 3 to 4 item spot. Is there a way to balance it to get to full build a little bit more often?
Yes. So this first pass at the golden XP balance was to control the pacing of the match a little better, because what we were seeing before all this stuff happened was players were hitting full build by like 22 minutes, and there was some feedback that was just too fast.
Yeah.
That was like arena pacing at this point. So we wanted to slow that down, make it more of a gradual curve. And I think now we're starting to see that games are ending around the 5 item mark. And so now it's a question of, should the players always hit full build every Conquest match they play, or should that right be reserved for the team who's ahead? Because they're ahead because they're winning, so they get to reach full build a little faster than the other team. And then both teams hitting full build is a mark of the game being an even game where they take it to the 40-minute mark and on. we're not sure yet. We are keeping an eye on how that feels as we go through patches. And we're pretty nimble, so we're going to make adjustments when we see that, okay, it's negatively impacting games. We'll make a change. Yeah.
What is one change that you would like to do or would like to have done but have not?
Oh, man. I really want to redo the layout of Conquest.
Yeah.
I think it's time for something new. The problem is I don't think we can right now. But I do want to experiment with just moving everything around, like just deleting the whole thing and starting over.
Starting from scratch, you know.
With all the things that we've learned from doing it the first couple times here on Smite 2.
Yes. Yeah.
What was your favorite Smite 1 temporary map gimmick?
Ooh, dang. Catapults.
Catapult's pretty good.
Catapults. That was fun. And if we're talking about all maps, I think Corrupted Arena was.
Corrupted Arena
was
is
fun.
just
the first
that's
time.
my favorite thing. Yeah.
Yeah, the first time it came out, I think everyone was having fun just throwing
It was
people
like,
in
oh my
pits.
goodness, it's
Yeah.
so much fun.
Yeah.
I had one, but then I lost it. This is kind of a little segue, but like this person says, I miss Joust the Two of Us, right? All these old match of the days that we had in Smite. I know that Zaneski was working on like a
Match of the day. Yeah.
some match of the day stuff. Like, how's that going? Is that any updates on that we can share?
He has something. I think we were just trying to figure out how to get the queue to cycle, because that was part of it.
Yeah.
But he has like a rough version of it in.
Okay.
And I think he's stopped to focus on assault.
Yeah, which is probably the thing that the community wants more of right now. But that's cool.
Kilgoon, I see a fellow Olympic Arena enjoyer in chat.
Dude,
that was
I like
so
it.
much fun.
I loved that one. It was like you just would have these crazy chases. Like,
I know.
all the way
It
around
was
the
so
map.
much fun.
Yeah, it was a good one. Sometimes I'm just like, man, we just need to add like a running track to the Conquest
Right?
map.
Yeah.
How often are aspects getting released? I would say pretty regularly. We're releasing, at least one with every major update. So at least one every 2 weeks, but it's been more like 2 or so every 2 weeks recently. So we do have one that's coming out today. We will have Merlin's aspect where he randomly selects one of his first 2 abilities for his first 2 slots. And every time he changes stances, it's kind of fun. And then we'll have one coming out on Monday, which is Umoja's more mid-lane mage-focused aspect. And then we haven't said which gods are getting aspects in the next update. I don't know exactly which ones are getting aspects in the next update. We'll talk about it on Monday, I guess. There was a question that went by a minute ago that was asking, is God Builder in the next major update? Ooh. Not in the next major update. We're hoping that it will be in the one after the next major
OB8.
update. OB8 is what we're hoping for. There's a chance that it slides to OB9 because it's a very big feature, but we are continuing to work on it.
That's going to be huge.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think that and it's really cool. Like there's a lot of neat stuff in it. Yeah. It may not have everything perfect day one, but I think it's going to be really big. Yep. Did you prefer Egyptian Clash or Siege more?
Oh, me. Yeah. I think Egyptian Clash.
Yeah. It's pretty good.
Yeah. I had a lot of fun in Egyptian Clash. I think it's because it had a mini jungle that was centered on the 2 lanes. Mm-hmm. And so there's a guy who always liked to sneak into that little jungle and just do something cheeky. The mid-red fights are fun. Mm-hmm. So all that I enjoyed.
I'm sorry, I thought you had one, and then I interrupted you. I apologize.
I mean, someone was asking if we can do Corrupted Arena for Halloween. That's kind of a stretch. I'm not going to promise that we can, but doing event-style changes to the map, like, based on season, I think we can pull off something there. To the extent of Corrupted Arena, maybe not. Mm-hmm. That's, yeah.
Let's see here. Here we go. Do we think that adding a new jungle boss in the solo side of the map that increases player groupings early to mid game on both sides of the map instead of only Gold Fury?
Okay. We had something like that in Smite 1, the Draugr. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. we've talked about this. I've talked about this with Sineski a bunch, but we're hitting the point where we have a lot of big objectives in the map, and they're all competing for attention.
Yeah.
And so I think now it's a discussion of, are we at the cap? And if we are, what do we replace?
Yeah.
And also, if this person is asking, for something like that, then is it better to instead move what we have and put it in that spot?
Yeah.
That's probably where we're at right now. But we can think about it.
Would you ever add corrupted arena style holes to the Conquest map?
Dang, that's spicy. That's spicy.
There were a couple maps in Paladins that had like insta-gib areas where like people that had knockbacks could knock them into the insta-gib areas. But they were always kind of like off an alcove that you wouldn't really go down very often, and you knew it was like the risky route to take. But
I remember those.
It might be too much for Conquest. I don't know. It'd be fun, but
maybe as an event.
Yeah,
but gimmicks we tend to stay away from because they kind of lose their value quickly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are there stats on comebacks in Conquest? It feels difficult to make a comeback. So we've been looking at this, I can say, internally, and I think that that's why we've kind of been making some of the changes that we've been making, right? Is to try and make it so there's a little bit less rampant snowballing, right?
Yeah, that was part of the First Blood changes, which I think most people don't like.
Yeah.
But we had data that said that 80% of the matches were decided by a 500 gold lead that happened in the first 5 minutes or something like that. And so in the old First Blood setup, when you killed a player, you got about 300 or so gold, which accounted for more than half of that number. And then add on the fact that they probably got a free wave or got a rogue Cyclops camp or whatever. That made up the extra 100 or so. So that's where the thought process came from of, hey, let's try and change this and see if that's the problem. But I think we need more time to sit on it to see if that actually solved the problem or not.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually sent Max a request yesterday if we can get like dashboards of like win rate by different things happening.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
So, that would be cool.
He's got other stuff he's got to do too, but he said he was going to add it to his backlog. So
awesome.
How do you feel about the Fire Giant helping siege a lane after it's been captured by a team?
Dang. That's going to be
You
hard
imagine
for
just
him.
Fire Giant marching down mid.
he doesn't have legs anymore. How's he going to walk?
We had the Titans
slide.
unleashed in Smite 1.
Yeah, at least they have legs, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it'll be hard for him. He doesn't move. He also doesn't have the components to move.
Yeah. There's another, I think it's maybe an interesting conversation about like, could you add more complicated like team fight objectives or more complicated mechanics to the objectives, like Fire Giant shoots a straight fire line, everybody has to rotate with it. Like, what's the right level of complicated for fighting a MOBA boss versus
like an
MMO
MMO
boss, right?
Yeah.
Like, obviously they're different worlds, but like we want to make it an interesting fight, but like I don't know what that process is like on you guys' side.
Ooh. Early on, we had two designs for Fire Giant. One was the MMO boss, and one was the more like conservative, what you see in Smite current boss. And after some discussion, we figured, Smite's a PvP game, and a lot of the action comes from players fighting each other, and that all gets tarnished when Fire Giant just wrecks you instead. So we wanted the focus to be first PvP, and then Fire Giant is just a layer on top of that, instead of Fire Giant being the dominant boss, and then players are just the mix.
Awesome.
Yeah.
There was just like a flood of messages that came in, and it's very difficult to keep up.
I see a lot of people. I don't know if we have an update, but just text chat on console. A lot of folks asking for updates on that.
Yeah, still need to go through certification for that to happen, which means we can't update for probably at least 2 weeks for that to happen. So we just haven't found a good window to do that yet. It's something that we want to do, but we just need to find a safe spot to do it in.
I saw someone ask about Stygian Beacon. We put a light version of that on Pyromancer. I think that's live right now.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Pyromancer, when you kill him, he does the Stygian Beacon effect. He hits the weakest tower on the enemy side.
Yeah. What do you think about the actual like capture the point mechanic part of Stygian Beacon though? Was that like, is that a fun thing? Is that something that maybe there's a place for in the game?
Maybe. I've been mixed on it personally because I think early game it's fun because everyone is sort of even leveled in power, but then as the game gets into the mid to late, it becomes way too bursty to sit on a point, and you kind of delegated that task to your guardians, who ended up just standing there idle for 30 seconds plus, capturing something. So that part isn't that fun. Maybe, but we'll need to figure out a better solution for that.
Any chances we can report people for using bad words in game chat? Yes, you should report them. You can report even from in game. If you click on the 3 dots on the scoreboard, there's a report option, and you can say what they did wrong and click report. And we do look at those, and we are banning people. Yes. We just aren't telling you that we're banning people right now. So we are definitely looking at those. There's one person who literally their entire job is to ban people all day. So we are banning people. We do look at your reports. Please report things that you do not want to see in the game. But don't just report people for being bad. Because that is bad for us, because it makes us not, having to spend time on this guy wasn't good. It's like, well, that doesn't really help us, right? It's like, were they intentionally throwing the game? That's a different story.
Is there any plan after the movement changes to do an auto attack quality of life changes, missile speed, input lag, to make them feel slightly more oomph plus satisfaction when autoing? I know Travis was complaining about auto attacks in Slack earlier today.
I didn't see the thread.
I think that's something that's potentially on his radar, just making sure that those feel good. I know there were a couple characters that he called out specifically, but I know that was something that Travis was talking about today.
Spoilers for Wandering Market 2, watch Monday. We'll go through all the skins on Monday. I think that they're fun.
They're cool.
They're cool. I don't know. They want the Alani check. I guess it's about that time.
Is it about that time?
Yeah.
Oh, man, we're almost towards the close of the show.
Flew by.
Oh, my God.
I've got Orange Kiss today.
I've got the Pink Slush.
Matt didn't need a drink. He's chilling.
Yeah.
I'm just a guest.
Oh, this is maybe an interesting one. Thoughts on making sentry wards reveal invisible enemies?
Ooh.
I love the one word like ooh.
Oh man, this has history.
Yeah.
That I cannot talk about right now. Maybe not.
Okay.
Maybe not. No, I don't think so.
Some people really loved the tiki masks from Smite 1. Was that your like LDs doing, or?
It was a combo of, I believe, Zaneski and Clumsy.
Okay.
I think they had the ideas to do it. Yes, there are some big positives about the tikis. One, they have a physical presence in the world, so you can see like this is the progress the jungler has made.
Yeah.
And then two, when you interacted with it, it had feedback. It felt good to choose the addition to your buff and stuff. So the system we have right now in Smite 2 lacks that feeling, and I think we just need to go back and either like hit it with a sledgehammer and try again, or reshape it to have that same positive feedback that the Tikis had. Yeah.
Cool. It's 1:59.
It's time for one more question.
So yeah, sorry. This is our ending the show tradition. So everybody picks one final question to answer.
Yeah.
So you can pick any question you want.
Okay.
I'll pick a question, and Isiah will pick a question, and there's no real order. We just kind of go and whenever we see one that catches our attention.
Okay. Ooh, this is a good one.
Okay, go for it.
Have you thought of doing a map with different objectives like HOTS, where they have all the different stuff going on? Yes, I think those maps they're cool because every time you load in, it's a different experience because the way you play the map is going to be different. We're not going to go to that level, but I think it'd be cool in the future to think about, what is Conquest if it wasn't just about killing the Titan?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe that is still the end goal, but maybe how you get to the Titan is different.
Yeah, that's
there
interesting.
might be different ways to get to it. Yeah.
Interesting things to think about, right? It's like it's always balancing like the Smite that people love and how we can evolve the game, right? That's kind of the problem of Smite 2, right? Is like how do we stay true to the past and move to the future?
Yep.
Very cool.
Thoughts on adding more walls to Arena because it currently favors ranged characters too much.
That is true. It also favors Mercury because he gets a wide open spot. But adding more walls is something that we didn't want to do yet because we just wanted to get a true one-to-one arena into Smite 2. But looking into the future, adding walls is a potential change that we can make in the future. Yeah.
Cool.
And have you ever had a map or gameplay idea that was just outright rejected? People like, that's horrible.
So many.
Don't spend any time.
So many. Man. Let's see. Actually, the day-night stuff was rejected.
Yeah.
That was something we wanted to do early on. This might excite people, but we wanted to do an asymmetric map. So right now the map is mirrored from bottom to top, but we wanted to like shift that.
Yeah.
So your dual lane is long on one side, and then on your right side, your solo lane is short. So it's uneven. On both sides, and that would create maybe some like matchup dynamics or something. But couldn't do that.
Awesome. Well, that's our one more question.
Yeah, that's our show for today.
We did it. But right now, probably, if not in a couple minutes, you can log into Smite and you can try the new Assault map and let us know what you think about it. Tell Matt and the other Matt how you feel about the level design, and we will take your feedback and we'll keep it going. Also, new Merlin aspect is live,
That's right.
so play with that. And
Cool. Yeah, and there'll be a survey posted out on social media a little bit later today for everybody who's slamming assault queues over the weekend. We're definitely looking forward to seeing everybody play with the new map and giving us all your feedback. That's our show for today, but be sure to join us back here on Monday, 1 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be talking about OB7, Cerberus, New Wandering Market, lots of cool other stuff. I believe Clumsy is going to be joining us on that show.
I didn't know. That's exciting.
Yeah. Cool. But until then, hope everyone enjoys the weekend. Hope everyone enjoys the Assault Dev Test map. And until then, we will see you all on the battleground. Take care, everyone. Peace.